All right, welcome everyone. We are very happy to be here and talk about the Africa Impact Web3 report as part of the Blockchain4Good Summit. A little check on the platform if everything is working well. I see Laura, Glenn, Kayode, and Sandy, and the session is normally on. Just get a signal on your side if everything is also correct.
Looks
very good. Okay, very good. And I see that we have many participants starting to join the session. So very great to see you. I guess some of you have been around already in the summit. It's the second edition of the summit, so maybe you're already familiar with the platform. Feel free to use the Q&A during that session. You'll be able to ask questions, and if we have time, we'll pick it up. Hopefully, we'll do. All right, so I'm very glad to be here, and maybe just to kick off, we can do a very short round of introduction. I'll just start with myself, Lucas. I'm the co-founder at Positive Blockchain. We started in 2016-17, exploring blockchain application for sustainable development. Positive Blockchain is a non-profit association with members in Germany, in France, but also in Africa and many other places. So we're very happy to cooperate with communities and research institutes, such as the Africa Blockchain Institute. I'm also a CEO and co-founder at Planet 2050, a company that's active in the climate finance and carbon markets. Yeah, maybe over to you, Laura.
Thank you very much. For now, the plan was, of course, to give you an intro about the African Impact Web3 report. And with that, I think it's best we can also share.
Oh, I thought maybe Laura just say a few words about yourself. I'll share the slides after. Just we do an introduction round.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
So yeah, my name is Laura Kaitazi, and I work for ValidVent, which is a consultancy company in the area of crypto and blockchain. We specialize especially on kind of crypto taxation, but we do also other projects, including sustainability. And with that, I will give over to the other speakers.
Maybe Sandy, just a few words about yourself. We'll come back to you later, but just say who you are.
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Sandy Omnia-Bos. I'm the Impact and Research Lead at Convexity Technologies Abuja.
Very good. Glenn?
Hi, good day. My name is Glenn Jordan. I'm CEO of Empower. And Empower is an organization that supports affordable housing finance across Africa.
Very good. Kayode?
Hey guys, this is Kayode from Africa Blockchain Institute. And of course, we're focusing on addressing policy gaps in Africa, building resilient ecosystem, and also doing something around innovation for real-world application. Glad to be here.
Very good. So let us start with the Africa Impact Web3 report. We're very happy to release it as of today. As a matter of fact, we thought it would be a great opportunity during this summit that is focusing on sustainable development and application of Blockchain4Good to release the report. A little bit of background. We started with Africa Blockchain Institute, Positive Blockchain, and BC100+, a report, but it started especially as a mapping exercise to understand what were the champions on the ground that were leveraging the blockchain technologies for impact. That exercise started, like I said, under the BC100+, which is an initiative for the UN Charter of Values, and especially the SDGs, that is working as an ecosystem builder and a network for people both from development agencies and institutions, but also from the technology startup landscape, connecting them and discussing the role of technology to solve global issues. Positive Blockchain and ABI, Africa Blockchain Institute, have been both members of BC100 Plus. And within this group, we're running a number of working groups, work streams. And so the Africa Web3 impact mapping is one of those. Yeah, so like I said, we started with the understanding of a few projects like you see on the screen, Ben, Grassroot Economics, Etheris, Kimbo Care, Wadapt. You may have heard about some of them and more. So we wanted to have a better understanding of who is in the ground. Are there African startups? Are there global startups, but they're coming into Africa? So we gathered a team with many contributors from different organizations, and I want to thank them today. To basically start with the mapping, we quickly had more than 150 projects listed. That's an exercise we did last year, and since about September last year, we started working as a collaborative effort on the report. The report is available as of today. Like I said, we have covered 13 countries, looking at a quick landscape overview of the ecosystem in this country, as well as blockchain maturity and regulatory development. And then we're covering between 1 to 6 project and use case from each of these 13 countries, right? So totally, it's about 40 projects that have been covered. You have the link down there. We'll also put it in the chat, or it would be great if one of my colleagues can put it in the chat. So this is exactly where you can download the report and find all the information inside. It will also be distributed through Africa Blockchain Institute and all the partners in the next days. Yeah, here you have an overview of a few of these projects. So the database is building on the open database on Positive Blockchain. We have about 1,500 projects that are listed. The database is open in access to anyone, can also be downloaded for free. And all these projects that have been specially identified in Africa will also be integrated in the next days in the global database. So you'll be able to explore and look especially at the 150 in the continent. Of course, it was hard to cover them all, so we made a selection of the 40, which we believe represent multi-use case, level of maturity, different technology approach, and of course, different countries. And I think it's been fantastic experience, at least for myself, to look at the creativity and innovative solutions that were developed across healthcare, finance, supply chain, and many more sectors. So in the first part of the report, you will see there's a little bit of analytics. So we took a look at the database overall to try to identify some trends. And that's exactly the part that Laura will cover for you right now. So Laura, maybe you want to take over.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, Lucas, for the introduction. I'm also super thankful that I could be part of this exercise and this report. Just to give you a bit of an understanding, of course, with regards to the methodology, once again, we needed to take out some of the projects because not all of them were active or they are not active anymore, which is a quite nice thing in a way that you can see it in the report, because you can get a feeling of how many projects are not out there anymore. And but then we did basically a deep dive on the ones that are still active, which result into approximately 103 projects. Over the time, just to give you kind of a feeling, there were kind of 2 peaks within the ecosystem for the growth of the number of projects, which were in 2017 and 2021. It's super interesting because in these 2 years, there was already the bull market. So it kind of correlates with that, which is an interesting observation. And here on this graph, what you can see is basically an overview of the distribution of the projects across the different African countries. You can see, of course, here Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana are one of the countries which have the most projects in it. It can be also observed if you go to the next slide, Lucas. Yeah. Here you can also observe nicely that besides like the projects that you can see, most of them are in Kenya, also South Africa, Nigeria. You can see it. It's reflected also in the headquarters. Another very interesting thing is that you might think, okay, there are many headquarters within Africa, but actually the organizations are trying to be more representable internationally. That's why you can see here kind of a split between, projects that have their headquarters within Africa, but also outside. So it's kind of almost 50-50. Of course, we wish to see here a little bit more in Africa, but it's still interesting to see that they might want to have some more international representation. The projects, it's also a nice takeaway or a great observation, and hopefully we will have more in Africa. Apart from that, just as a quick note, top countries with headquarters like African blockchain projects are observed in like very, also typical blockchain related projects like USA, UK, and Germany, Switzerland. That's for now. There are also other countries like Canada, France, but as far you can have here like a good overview of the distribution. Next slide, please. Another thing that we looked at is, of course, like the different type of services. Most of them were like observed in financial inclusion, so making actually available funds to within the countries, with across the society, to basically also tackle poverty and so forth. Other things that we also observed and are taking more importance within the sphere are agriculture and food, as well as identity and ownership, especially when it comes to countries that are have a weak organization when it's come to like actually having an identity document and so forth. So making this traceable and actually making it able for people to access services with a really blockchain-based identities is really key here as well. Other things we could observe is, of course, all the sustainability topics like climate and environment, logistics and traceability, education and employment, and energy, as well as infrastructure, health, and some others. But as you can see here, of course, like finance and agriculture are like the main ones. So with that, I think next slide. I think
that's it.
So for
that's
that,
it for now, but there are more charts in the report that people can look at.
Exactly. Just as a side note, there are information about blockchain use. Unfortunately, we couldn't take so much out of it because not all the projects actually made information available what blockchain they use, but Ethereum was one of the most frequent ones that they actually talked about. Other things you would also find is generally a bit like correlation. So in which countries do you find the most, most of the finance projects and so forth. So with that, I will close so we have more time for the other speakers, but it's really worthwhile taking a look.
Thank you so much, Laura, and the work you did as well for the analytics and contribution to the report. And let's move on with Kayode. So maybe Kayode, you can share a little bit more about the work you're doing with the Institute and also the research group, and maybe your perspective to the Africa Impact Web3, what it means and what are your perspectives?
Yes, thank you very much. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good. Again, pleasure to be here and very happy that we are launching the Africa Web3 Impact Report today. Prior to now, I've able to introduce myself and what I do at the Africa Blockchain Institute. And more closer with that at the Institute, we actually focus on improving the narrative of blockchain in and across Africa as a think tank addressing critical blockchain policy gaps. We are also building a very resilient ecosystem and also powering sustainable innovations on real-world application all across Africa. And the research arm of the Institute is Africa Center of Excellence, which greatly contributed to the success of this report, with internal researchers giving a lot of contributions to make sure that we have something of value today that we are launching. But however, the researchers internally at the center are not the only folks that actually contributed to the success of the research. We also were able to receive outside the research center researchers from various jurisdictions and also various backgrounds as contributors on the report, which I'm sure you see many of them as itemized inside the report program being shared in the comment. Now, on the Africa Web3 impact, it's really truly reflects how decentralized systems are being locally adopted to solve issues. Issues of various kind, starting with the limited access to banking. And of course, are you able to solve that? Many Africans are tilting towards decentralized finance. We also have solving issues in terms of land ownership, which also is reflected in the report, digitalizing land registry, and we have projects like Ben in Ghana doing perfectly well in that area. Also, in terms of how the impact has been measured all over Africa, they're also trying to solve, using blockchain for lack of identity documentation. Flex ID in Zimbabwe is doing that, so able to have self-sovereign ID, to able to have access to circular economy services as well that typically you or anybody might not able to have access to. Also, we have cases like supply chain corruption, where blockchain is assisting to solve traceability. We have cases like Nitide in Cote d'Ivoire that is shipping cocoa from Cote d'Ivoire to Europe as well. They want to track and trace the supply and the agricultural activities right from the country in Africa to anywhere outside. Of course, the creators, the artists also are not left behind, because many a time all of their creative activities are actually left behind or even underpaid. And many of them are now shifting towards NFTs, royalties, and every other thing that really give more support back to what they are doing. So the Africa Web3 impact really reflects, different decentralized system, to really solve local issues that we have. My second point is much of the Web3 impact in Africa is community-led. It also is open source and it's from bottom up, not up down, because this means local developers, startups are building tools that actually respond directly to the problem that they have in their local area than bringing different solutions or different ideas really from external places that really may not bring value or even germane to the problems that they have locally. Now, thirdly, the impact also goes beyond startups. We discussed even earlier before now. This also was mentioned in the report. We've seen many policy shift conversation all across Africa. Recently, also Rwanda. We have Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. Really having different policy shift around blockchain technology. Of course, coming from the financial inclusion perspective, but however, they are also looking at how they can have a proper blockchain regulation document that allow other people aside from the fintech to also make use of blockchain. We also have beyond startup virtual development. That means internet access, blockchain infrastructure. So really, the impact of this Web3 goes beyond startup convention that we have. Also, there's new economic models coming up where people are tokenizing cooperatives, and even refi also is coming up as well. Lastly, there are some thematic areas that was itemized by Laura on the chart that was shared previously, which sums up my last point. It kind of aligned, in terms of the Africa Web3 impact, starting with financial inclusion, transparency in governance, youth employment and digital skills, climate resilience and circular economy. I mentioned that earlier. Diaspora engagement through remittance and crowdfunding. So we might be curious to know, why does this really matter? It matters because Africa is not just adopting blockchain. Africans are actually innovating with purpose. Africans are actively shaping how blockchain is applied in real world problems, in unique ways to solve their local challenges. And starting again from creating DeFi platform to solve the unbanked issues that they have from the unbanked population, and also moving towards the blockchain-based land registry to solve transfer of ownership dispute from one person to another. African innovators actually design solutions that tailor to the continent's socioeconomic reality. So at the end, this report really called for action, which is targeting towards the policymakers to create more enabling environment for Web3 businesses, startups, and organizations and projects, and also call for action for investors to support impact-driven blockchain ventures, which are actually identified in this report, or even those that we cannot even capture in this report as well. And for researchers and developers, it calls for us to really deepen our collaboration. Each of these parts can't actually work in silo. We get to collaborate with ourselves to come up with different research and innovative product as well. So I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation. And at this point, I want to pass the presentation to Glenn to please run us through Empower, which one of the period that was featured on the report. Thank you very much. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks very much, Claude. Very nice to be here, and thanks for having me. Just hoping everybody can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. So really, Empower, just to your point, is really focused on the practical implementation of the blockchain technology. And as we've gone along, we've really realized that the communication is around the application, not around the technology. And to your point, it's really around practical applications. And here, for everybody in the world right now is battling with housing and affordability of housing. But obviously, Africa is significantly behind. And that comes about largely because of informality. So to your point around identification, systems, and processes, 85% of people in Africa are automatically excluded from housing finance due to informality. 85% of income is informal. And there is only one housing product effectively across the globe, and that is a mortgage. And a mortgage, by definition, requires formality. So we are immediately excluding 85% of the people across Africa. And so really what that means is the opportunity to create an affordable housing finance platform that meets this pent-up demand. And the irony is this: people are paying a lot of money for very poor housing. And that is across the continent, across multiple countries. And the backlog is 50 million homes. And that's really what we're seeking to crowdfunding in a way that meets the needs of this informal market. So what does an informal market look like? And what does an informal payment look like? And here is actually one of our customers, and it demonstrates the road, as you can see here, a pay-as-you-go methodology and the flexibility of payments that is required in order to make this a reality for a homeowner across Africa. And part of this process is just how do we create enough flexibility in the systems that meets this market need while meeting the requirements of capital. So the
Glenn,
whole thing.
Sorry to cut you. Maybe
No
you may be sharing another screen. Okay, here we go. Here we see the screen.
Oh, sorry, did it not move?
No, now we can see it. Yeah, maybe you want to move in full screen as well.
Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
And the next slide, can you see the pay-as-you-go journey to home ownership?
No.
Nope.
Okay, now we see it.
And now if I go, if I go full screen, can you see it?
No, I think your full screen must be a different screen.
Great. Okay.
So you can stay on that document, and I think we see good enough.
Let me stay here. Yeah, apologies for that. So the point, here we're showing the pay-as-you-go journey to home ownership and the flexibility of requirements. So we're talking here about matching flexibility of payments, which is the informal market, intermittent, variable payments. That's how 85% of income is earned across the continent. Matching that to the requirements of capital, which obviously is more formalized, requires returns, be able to measure those returns. And that's what we're doing at Empower, is matching the two together in a platform that's obviously driven by the technology, driven by blockchain technology. And the reason for the blockchain is around creating data that is verified, that is able to be demonstrated, that is open, that meets the needs of both capital and consumers in a new and innovative way. Part of that is the distribution of capital, because the existing systems don't work, as well as meeting the needs of the informal consumer and the needs of capital. So that's the process that we're going through, and that's the learning that we're going through. But we're demonstrating real success here on the ground, and that's the exciting part around what we're doing. We're able to demonstrate that people can and do pay, that it's not poverty. We're turning expenses into wealth creation. We're turning that into investment. We're turning expenses into investment. We're addressing the SDGs in terms of the poverty around gender equality. More than 50% of our home owners are women. And that's not just because they are woman-led households, but also because it's good business, because they're better payers. So it's all around driving climate resilience, driving investment, and meeting the needs of the continent in a way that really uplifts people the number of, actually 16 of the 17 SDGs are addressed by housing. And yet housing is one of the hardest things to meet because of the history of failures of top-down large projects. So it's really about decentralization, and hence the Empower, because it's around building practices from the bottom up to meet the needs of developers and consumers and capital in a way that meets everybody's needs. We've managed to win some awards along the way, and we'd love everybody who's here to join our journey. We haven't got all the solutions. We're working on them. We're driving this process. We're utilizing the innovation that the technology enables us to do to drive new innovations in the space to address very, very real needs for most people across the continent. So that, in a nutshell, is what we do, and the successes, hopefully, of Empower and the achievements across the continent.
Thank you
Glenn.
very much. Yeah, over to you, Sandy.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No.
We cannot see it yet. Oh, okay. I think it's loading. Yes. Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so just some context on why we built chats. So prior to founding Convexity, our founders worked in the humanitarian ecosystem conducting forensic investigation and follow the money. So through that, they identified the need for a solution that improves the efficiency and transparency of humanitarian aid delivery, which led to us building Chats. So Chats is a tamper-proof aid distribution platform for CVA programs that ensures that verifiable beneficiaries receive their full aid in a safe and dignified process. So Chat connects the whole humanitarian ecosystem. We have the data management platform, which allows implementing organizations to manage projects, beneficiaries, and disburse funds to project beneficiaries. We have the Field Agent app, which allows field agents for implementing organizations to onboard beneficiaries, share and collect feedback from them, and share with organizations. We also have the Vendor app, which allows project merchants to accept payments from project beneficiaries using SMS, USSD, or the NFC card. We have the donor dashboard, which allows implementing organizations to invite donors to donate to projects, and they can donate using stable coins or fiat, and the beneficiaries receive their aid in local currencies. We also have the beneficiary app for smartphone and internet-enabled beneficiaries. So this just gives an overview of the suite of apps. We have the Field Agent app, the Vendor app, the Beneficiary app, the Data Management Platform, and the Donor Dashboard. We also have multiple disbursement options on Chats, which allows users to have the Beneficiary app for payments receipts. We have the SMSD, USSD feature for feature phones and allows users in locations without the internet to also send and receive payments. We have the NFC tap to pay functionality and QR code paper vouchers. And also currently we are testing out the facial recognition verification following lessons that we have learned on the field. So why Chats? Chats has trimodal verification process, which allows us to eliminate duplicate claims by beneficiaries. It also allows implementing organizations to register beneficiary once for future or parallel interventions, so you don't have to go to field multiple times to keep on registering beneficiaries. We also have offline capability and the ability to run multiple programs. So you could run a program for disbursement of cash to beneficiaries or sanitary pads to beneficiaries at the same time. Chats also make sure that the assistance goes to the right person, improves control and visibility to field activities, allows customization of reports to meet donor requirements or internal requirements. And of course, Chats is built on auto-scale infrastructure, so it's highly scalable. Okay, so this just says that Chats is self-sustainable because we have transaction fees, implementation charges, consultation service, and platform subscription. And of course, we've partnered with the Nigerian Red Cross, Social Good Fund, California, and the Central Bank of Nigeria. We've also received funding from UNICEF, Roddenberry Foundation, California, and Creating Hope in Conflict, which is a group of USAID, and GCC. So our impact snapshots. Chats is trusted by several partners to effectively manage beneficiary identities. We've successfully onboarded 17,000 plus beneficiaries and impacted 93,000 plus and distributed approximately 2.8 million in funding to recipients. This provides a snapshot of some of our active campaigns and past campaigns. So we've delivered essential items to refugees in Makoko, which is a floating slum in Lagos, Nigeria. Also providing health treatments to women in IDP camps and daily sustenance allowance in hard-to-reach communities, empowering women with soap-making skills, and also providing them with access to malaria testing and treatment all through Chats. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And I think we're at time, but we've had one question, and for the sake of thanking Alexandra for the question, I'd like to hand it to you, Sandy. How are you collecting the face recognition on Chats?
Okay, so we use an AI model that we've integrated. So we have the Field Agent app, and that Field Agent app, during the onboarding process, the beneficiaries' data is collected. So whenever they go back to maybe a vendor or merchant, the vendor just has to like open the app and then put the camera on their face, and then their details comes up. So it makes it simpler and easier and less frictional for verification.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
everybody. I think we're at time, and wish also everybody a great Blockchain4Good virtual summit for the remaining of the day. I also encourage everybody to reach out to Sandy, Glenn, and many other project developers that are mentioned in the report. And yeah, hopefully it will be a good starting point for you to make more discovery and more research. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you up soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.